It's becoming increasingly hot today, so I've come up to this far end of the Sherwood Forest Country Park where it's a lot more shaded under these old ancient oaks. I'm after a couple of species potentially today, and they are literally jewels in Sherwood Forest's crown. Now, the species that I'm after today are three beetles, and they're members of the Buprestidae family, which are locally known as jewel beetles. They really are quite fabulous things, and although we don't have the colourful species of jewel beetle like they do in southern parts of the European continent, we do have some really nice species. In Sherwood, there's 4 or 5 species now that have been recorded, and there's one new species, and that's the one I'm really after today. It's a Gryllus saucicollis, recorded only a couple of weeks ago by the county recorder. I did see it the other day when I came up this end of Sherwood Forest. Now, the thing with these beetles, they like it hot and sunny. I don't. That's why I've come up in this particular shady area. But there's one particular storm damaged tree that's providing the right conditions, and I had at least 2 species of jewel beetle on there the other day. So we'll see what we get. Well, I'm just pausing for a minute while I'm on my way down to where I need to be. You can probably guess why. This is my favourite end on part of the Sherwood Forest Country Park. One of the reasons is this. It's the peace and quiet. You get few members of the public here, and those that venture up to this part of the forest tend to be just couples out for a casual stroll. Today, it's just me having a casual stroll, accompanied by the sound of nuthatches and some distant redstart calls. It's quite beautiful. This is a Gryllus bigotatus, one I've just managed to net, and you can see the beautiful metallic green coloration, and there's several white dots on the elytra. It's the only Nottinghamshire species that has such white dots, and it's the largest of those that do occur in Nottinghamshire. It's a beautiful species and fairly large, at around 15mm in length. They don't usually hang around long, so I need to talk quite sharpish because this one I'm sure won't hang around, especially in this heat. They are extremely active beetles, rarely sitting still for any length of time, so we're honoured by this beetle's presence for so long. Usually found on dead and dying oak, as I've mentioned or probably mentioned before, and off it goes. I know it wouldn't be long, in fact I'm surprised it's been as long as it has. Managed to just catch another jewel beetle, a Gryllus bigotatus. This is the most common, or certainly most commonly seen in Sherwood Forest, but yet rarely recorded. They tend to be active on the warmest of days, and they can be attracted to oaks such as the one I'm against now that are quite storm damaged from the previous winter, or there's been fresh cuts. This is not an easy species to catch up with, and because they're so flighty on the warmest of days when they're most active, this one is probably not going to hang around for much longer. But they're a beautiful species, and Buprestidae, the jewel beetles, are much sought after by collectors and coleopterists, and off it goes. They don't hang around these, do they? But at least we've seen 2 now. Well, this lower branch of this old oak is certainly attracting jewel beetles all but one have been the larger species of Grillus bigotatus, which is simple enough to identify. The beetles land on these leaves and then set off wandering about the leaves. They're so flighty. I have seen a smaller jewel beetle, which is probably a Grillus angustulus, which is another of the commoner species found here at Sherwood. In fact, there's another Grillus bigotatus just gone up round the back there. There's plenty of Grillus here. You'll have seen me took a sweep at something that landed on the foliage of that low branch of oak there. I may well have got a Grillus salsicollis. It's maybe a mil larger than I would expect for a Grillus angustulus, but this is quite distinctly greenish blue. So it's quite a different beetle to a Grillus angustulus, which I have had here. So this one has to come home with me and cool down, and then hopefully get some photographs. I daren't let this one go. The jewel beetles are generally difficult to find. In fact, I remember the county recorder had not seen a Grillus bigotatus here in many years. And then one particular year, when some youngish oaks were cut down to leave 5-6 foot high stumps, we had quite a boost of records of the Grillus bigotatus. There's one just here now. Just if you get the right tree in the right conditions, they're quite easy to come by sometimes here in Sherwood, but you just need those right conditions. And here we've got a tree that's had some storm damage, and some trees behind me that have been cut down in the last winter. That's provided freshly exposed bark, and that's what they need. But a lot of the Grillus bigotatus are flying into this. And when you see them land, you can tap them into the net or a quick sweep up. Usually does the trick. And they are distinctive in flight as well. You can see the metallic sort of turquoisey bluish green in flight. And the tergites of the abdomen and Grillus bigotatus are a brilliant electric blue. But they are beetles of as hot a site as possible. And this is hot today. Well, that seemed to have been reasonably successful. Managed to get some footage of a Grillus bigotatus, saw a Grillus angustulus, and have hopefully caught a Grillus salsicollis. That's quite some going, really, and it just shows what can happen and what you can get when the conditions are right. You need a freshly either felled tree or storm damaged tree, less than a year old really, where the scent is strong enough to attract beetles in. Also had another rarity in molasses pupestoides. That's new to me. Well, it was the other day. I had a second one today. But the jaw beetles can have their hot sun. The hot sun is no longer for me. I used to love it at one time, but now my skin can't deal with it. So it's home into the shade and a thirst quenching pint, or two, or three.